and thank you for joining us on this edition of the 6 p.m. Primetime Newscast on Equinoxe Television. We are coming to you live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. I am Babla Jonathan. In our top stories in this edition of the news, civil society and right defenders condemn the killing of an 11-year-old child by a gendarme officer in Sancho in the west region of the country. The child was killed by a bullet from the gun of a gendarme officer, and there have been condemnations rising to the sky over increasing cases of police brutality across the country. You'll hear some reactions in this edition of the 6 p.m. Primetime Newscast on Equinoxe Television. And out of the country, Mauritanian Coast Guard said they have recovered 89 bodies of migrants from a boat that capsized in the Atlantic Ocean. The boat capsized on Monday. Once more, thank you for joining us on this edition of the news on Equinoxe Television. Condemnations are rising to the sky following the killing of an 11-year-old child by a bullet from the gun of a gendarme officer. This happened in Sancho in the west region of the country. ACA Lucy Liengu has greater details.
Aggrieved inhabitants and road users plying the Melonchang stretch in the west region of the country blocked the Sancho control post. This follows the tragic death of a little boy, age 11. The child, according to eyewitnesses, was shot in the head by a security officer as a result of a dispute he had with the driver of this vehicle heading to Chang.
He presented his car documents, which were complete. The gendarme lacked a motive to get 500 francs from the driver.
Leaving the control post without presenting the bicycle bill of sale demanded, the security officer opened fire.
He
digressed to the bicycle of the 11-year-old who was traveling to the village with his mother. Since he never had the bicycle document, he started his car to leave. The first bullet got to the back tire and the second to the child's head.
The child unfortunately died on the spot, and the angry population barricaded the road seeking justice. It was thanks to the intervention of security forces that the gendarme who committed the act could escape the anger of the population. But their exasperation did not end at the control post. The people attempted to set ablaze the office where the officer works. It was a difficult task for the senior divisional officer of the manual division to cool off their anger.
In the report coming up next, soon as it takes a look at recent cases of police brutality across the Republic of Cameroon, violations of citizens' rights by law enforcement officers. His report.
Barbaric acts manifested towards the civilian population in Cameroon by uniformed officers is rampant and becoming a cause for concern. The shooting to death of an 11-year-old girl by a gendarme in Sancho over bribe denied by the victim's parents is just one of many similar incidents registered in Cameroon. From the start of the second term of the just-ended academic year, at least 4 of such occurrences were recorded. One was registered in Okoyong-Manfi Southwest region on the 11th of January 2024, where a gendarme at the checkpoint opened fire to immobilize a driver. But a bullet hit a 30-year-old pregnant woman, a food vendor. The victim, Benice Tando, died on the spot. Some months later, on May 17, a hunter was mistaken for a thief in Kolmetek in the Nyong and So division of the Central region. Zhang Akeba was unfortunate to have found himself at the wrong place and wrong moment. Returning from his hunting activity, he was shot by a police officer after security forces encircled the zone to neutralize the thieves who had burgled into a microfinance institution. These are only a few of the numerous excesses of some uniformed officers across the national territory. Most of these incidents happened in the crisis-stricken northwest and southwest regions, where babies and children were shot dead. Many young men suspected to be separatist fighters or aiding the state enemies were arbitrarily executed.
Over 150 young persons from different nations, young persons of different nationalities, have been locked up in a building in the Ndiandam neighborhood in Bafoussam West region of the country. The young persons are suspected of involvement in illegal activities. Mala Glory reports.
A building situated in the Ndiandam neighborhood, Bafoussam 2 subdivision, has been transformed to an illegal business center by a group of men who call themselves leaders. Over 150 young people are locked here, suspected of illegal activities.
You have the number, you can call. No, not get the number. It's not around.
Access into this building is restricted, especially to unknown people, thus making it more suspicious. Only the intervention of the forces of law and order that the gate was open. While in the building, the officers discovered over 150 persons from different nationality locked in the building. One of the leaders found in one of the offices of the building explained that it is a company that markets different types of products.
People who pay 1 million something for different products. So when you pay for that product, they will do documents for you for the product. They give you a receipt for the product, and they do your documents for you. Then you start working with us. And as you promote your products, well, that's how you are being paid. As you are promoting the product, they are paying you.
After further investigations, it was discovered that it is a network marketing, an illegal exercise that has been suspended in Cameroon. Inhabitants suspect it is a network of human trafficking, while others explain that these young men and women were asked to provide huge sums of money in order to have more benefits at the end, but unfortunately have been duped. A complaint was filed against these leaders, who have been arrested and presently in detention for questioning.
Women in Kumba continue with the war against illegal drug consumption in their neighborhoods. They have destroyed several makeshift structures where hard drugs were being sold in Club Number 1 neighborhood in the Kumba 2 subdivisions. Manjikan Gebre has more.
Chairs, tables, benches, as well as zincs, set ablaze by women of Kumba 2 subdivision in Meme division, southwest region. The items being burned by the women came from some makeshift structures where hard drugs consumers take refuge to take in the dangerous substance at Club Number 1 neighborhood, which is the center of drug consumption in Kumba 2. This act falls under Operation No Hard Drugs in Kumba 2 subdivision. They shouldn't be spoiling our kids because they are selling drugs to them. If they were not selling these drugs, our children wouldn't have been wayward. The women of Kumba 2 subdivision have decided that no hard drugs will be sold here again, because a saying goes that when the child is bad, they belong to the mother. We the mothers no longer want bad kids again because we gave birth to them. Before going about with the destruction and burning of makeshift structures, the women had staged a walk around the neighborhood of Club Number 1 to sensitize everyone. The women have this message for drug dealers. If we can't do anything to the drug dealers, we shall hold the person who is giving them accommodation responsible. It was a similar situation in Diongo village under Ikiliwindi in Konye subdivision. The women in Diongo took courage to stage a protest against the sale and consumption of hard drugs. Diongo women say they will take laws into their hands in their next outing.
Enough is enough to drugs.
We stay with Smart Jikan Gabriel to talk about the president of the Equinoxe Subdivisional Chiefs Conference, who has urged all runaway chiefs who have abandoned their palaces and communities as a result of the volatile security situation prevailing in the two English-speaking regions of the country to return and start planning for the effective takeoff of the 2024-2025 academic year. Chief Akama Sona Elango made the call during the Konye Subdivisional Chiefs Conference. Details with Smanjik and Gabriel.
Konye is one of the subdivisions in Meme Division, Southwest region that has suffered as a result of the ongoing armed conflicts in the Anglophone regions. This has made many chiefs of the villages to escape into safe zones. The president of the Konye Subdivisional Chiefs Conference calls them back. If chiefs abandon the villages, they are the fathers there, because without them, the villages will be very weak, and that means the chiefs have abandoned their responsibilities.
Peace, unity and development.
This was during the first ever meeting of these chiefs at their base in Konye. The chiefs now want things to change.
When we make Konye our center,
many people are outside Konye. We want people to be at the subdivisional headquarters before moving into the villages. We heard about a military base in Konye soon, but let our people serve as the first source of security. We also want schools to effectively open next academic year because it will be economically advantageous to us, the parents. The gathering that held in the presence of the divisional officer of Konye saw the chiefs requesting for training workshops to better their management skills. Chiefs lack training, so we are hoping to have training workshops so that we can collaborate in aspects of policing in our different chiefsdom and know how to solve problems among villages.
Policing for chiefdom.
With the outing of the chiefs of Konye, many are now hoping for things to stabilize in the one-time red zone of the crisis.
15 traditional rulers of the West region of Cameroon have expressed disappointment over the recent outing of the Bishop of the Bamenda Diocese of the Roman Catholic Church, His Lordship Paul Lonsi-Kene. The chiefs complain that the Catholic Church, through the bishop, is attempting to relegate the cultures and traditions of the West region to the backyard, so to speak. Their complaints are contained in an open letter addressed to the Bishop of Bausan. Staff Lady Annabella read through the letter and now tells us more.
The over a dozen custodians of tradition of the West region are poised to ensure that the traditional and cultural values of the West be respected to the maximum by authorities of the Catholic Church in the region. In a 3-page document, the chiefs expressed gross disappointment over the words of the Bishop of the Bavasam Diocese, Monsignor Paul Lonsi-Kene, and I quote, "A chief is just a chief, period, and God is God. We are not going to let you get away with us." These words directed to the first-class chiefs of the West region were not at all appreciated. As a response, in an open letter to the bishop, the traditional rulers say they are scandalized by some activities of the church which, according to them, are destined to destroy the rich African cultures and tradition and reduce the chiefs to nothing. The disgruntled rulers mention, among others, the conspicuous presence of bishops and priests during traditional rites like funerals, widowhood and succession rituals just for personal interest. The chiefs add that they have been tolerating all this silently for peace to reign, but begs the Bishop of the Bavasam Diocese not to push them to the wall. In the missive, the traditional rulers reminded Monsignor Paul Lonsi-Kene that the church might one day disappear in Africa, but the tradition will stay. The 15 signatories of the letter insist that from now on, the use of traditional and cultural objects during Catholic Eucharistic celebrations or masses must come to an end. Secondly, they have decided that no thief in the West region will set foot on any Catholic church until further notice. They as well call on Monsignor Paul Lonsi Kenye to be humble, take down his ego, and why not make peace with the angry traditional rulers of the West region. This whole saga started when a priest reportedly used statements considered as derogatory to chiefs of Bafu and Foto, our villages in the Menwa division of the West region. Worthy of note is that for several years now, the Catholic Church has been coexisting and functioning with African traditional religion without any issue in Cameroon. It is commonplace nowadays to see African cultures being displayed in Catholic parishes in the country in total harmony. Observers think the National Episcopal Conference of Cameroon might have to intervene so as to put an end to this seemingly open war between the Catholic Church in the West region and the traditional rulers.
Now in news, out of Cameroon, Coast Guards in Mauritania say they have recovered 89 bodies of migrants from a boat that capsized in the Mediterranean Sea. The boat capsized on Monday. 9 people, including a 5-year-old girl, were rescued, but dozens more are missing. Survivors say the vessel, a traditional fishing boat, set sail last week from the Senegalese-Gambia border area with 170 people on board. It capsized off Mauritania's southwestern coast. Mauritania is a key transit point for migrants trying to reach Europe from West Africa, with thousands of boats departing from the country. Last year, the most common destination on the perilous route is Spain's Canary Islands. The Spanish government says nearly 40,000 people arrived there last year, double the number from the previous years. And now in sports, the jury of the disciplinary committee of the Confederation of African Football, CAF, says that there are not enough proofs to sanction the president of the Cameroon Football Federation, Samuel Eto'o, over allegations of match fixing brought against him. We have greater details on this with Cedric Chakutu.
Samuel Eto'o is now fixed on his fate, in which he had been listened to by the Confederation of African Football. The jury of the Disciplinary Committee of the Confederation of African Football, CAF, met and ruled on the case concerning the president of the Cameroonian Football Federation, FECAFOOT, Mr. Samuel Eto'o. Mr. Eto'o was accused of manipulating football matches and violating the principles of ethics and integrity. The disciplinary jury considered that as it stood, there was no sufficient evidence to find Samuel Eto'o and Mr. Valentin Quen guilty of match manipulation. However, the disciplinary jury considered that Mr. Eto'o seriously violated the principle of ethics, integrity of sportsmanship provided in Article 2, Paragraph 3 of CAF statutes by signing an ambassadorial contract with a betting enterprise in exchange for remuneration. Eto'o is fined $200,000, equivalent to 125 million francs CFA. In a media release, lawyers of the former captain of the Indomitable Lions refute this condemnation. To them, the matches of the Cameroonian Championship, which Eto'o is responsible of organizing, are not CAF competitions. Only matches organized by CAF may be subject to a decision by the CAF disciplinary jury. Concerning ethics, Barrister Florian Banyam Hedga believes that the disciplinary jury is not authorized to rule on this subject because CAF does not have a code of ethics, much less an ethics commission. In view of all these observations, Eto'o's lawyers announced that their clients will appeal this decision before the CAF appeal jury in accordance with the provisions of Article 54 and 58 of the disciplinary code of the football body headed by Motsepe.
Talking Point is up next. Our guest today is Barrister Ango Jacob Ango, member of the Cameroon Bar Association. Thank you, Barrister, for joining us today. We are talking about police brutality. As a legal mind, what is your perception of the violation of citizens' rights by law enforcement officers in Cameroon.
Well, as a legal mind, I condemn that in toto. Nobody is interested to see that the other right of the other person is tempered upon it. But rather, unfortunately, it happens. But the problem is that the public should as well know where to complain. Sometimes ignorance, or sometimes that sanctions are being taken, but since they're not announced, people don't know that sanctions have been meted against those forces of law and order. Take, for example, let the gendarmes, if you are insulted or your right is abused, if you go to the brigade, you complain to the commander, he's not willing, you seize Simil. But a lot of the population are not aware about Simil. Simil will discipline them. And when you just inform a gendarme that you're going to Simil, you adjust. Equally like the police, you can go to the police or police. They'll sanction those police officers. Most often, sometimes the Delegate General of National Security dismisses police officers. But see, it does it quietly. People don't know that they sanction them. And some of them already have that impression that police are so powerful that they don't have anywhere. But let me tell you that Babylon, the police are treated as civilians so that you can seize the ordinary court against a police officer. Gendarme, you can seize the military court. And you need to know the justice in the military court is more draconian against them than you as a civilian. So the problem is part of the ignorance of the police, or part of it is that the even sanction is announced, but people don't know that they have sanctioned them. But the possibility are there.
As you rightly indicated, Barrister, the general opinion is that the law enforcement officers are often than not punished. Many of them go with it without being punished, and there are facts to back up this opinion, because this has been happening on and on again around us.
Yes, you know that in a criminal offense, an action can only start by somebody making a complaint. One of the problems is that Cameroonians are too docile, or they are not active to even take the effort to make a complaint. Just take, for example, when you are passing along the highway, police stop people with 500 francs. Is the rule. But who has complained? When you don't complain, how does the authority even know? But sometimes, somehow, is that even those who complain, they might have done a wrong somewhere. Most of those police, most of the drivers who complain that police are extorting them, check their documents, you realize that some of them don't have the documents. And that gives the authority to the police to exploit them. It's a bargain between the corrupt and the corrupter. So that's part of the problem of this. But however, if you actually take the necessary steps, I believe that the state always acts. All of us are living where we know parliamentarians of our eras. Just a phone call to the parliamentarian can solve the problem. The parliamentarian may call the authority who can sanction that police officer or that brigade. Like in Douala, if a gendarme has done anything wrong with you, I will advise you just go to Bolanjo, seize the Simil. Just a phone call, a lot of things will change. If the police, you are in Douala, go to the police or police. You will see a lot of sanctions. Even when the police are threatening you or the gendarme are threatening you, just tell them that you seize the Simil if it's a gendarme. If the police tell them that you go to the police or police, they themselves will adjust. They know that the man knows right.
Right, but Barrister, many will respond to what you're saying now by telling you that they have reported to the police to the Simil for acts committed by gendarme officers and soldiers, but they got nothing out of it. Some of them have even been threatened, intimidated for reporting. What do you say about this?
To be honest with you, I've tried once. My car, I went to the port there. My car was detained there. I just rushed up to the Simil. The Simil called. They were the people who were calling me to come and collect the car. And the police, not judicial police. They are the same building with the judicial police. They can even sanction the judicial police. And they respond directly with the Delegate General of National Security, who is in Yaoundé. I'm saying if a policeman harasses somewhere, just tell him that you are going to the police. The policeman will adjust. They know that before they appoint you, the commissioner in charge of the police is a person of integrity. They know that it's not easy for a policeman to sanction his colleague, but they know the type of person they appoint there. Most often the response are very prompt, and the disciplinary sanctions are always very harsh against the police. Some of them they could suspend them. Some of them they could suspend their salary. Some of them that can even be prosecuted in court. But I've told that the police treat a police officer as any normal civilian in the court. When they enter the court, their uniform is off. I've handled a similar case like that in Dokoti. Even a military man wore his uniform, entered the court. I told the court that the person want to intimidate the B, his dress should be removed. The B officer was sent out. He came and pleaded. His lawyer only pleaded that they should take adjournment so that he go and remove the uniform. And he came in like an ordinary civilian. And he was sanctioned. He was condemned to pay 10 million to that lady. And he even surrendered the house, which he seized from that lady. He surrendered the house to that lady and was to pay that lady 10 million francs. It's not that it was not announced. People would just believe that. And you know, the general feels that people are intimidated by the police and the general, but the laws are there and the authorities are there ready to sanction. But if you don't bring to the attention of those authorities, how would they even know that there's a wrong that was committed somewhere?
About the case you just mentioned, Barrister, concerning your car, the common man, so to speak, will tell you that it went speedy. It was speedy because it was about the car of a lawyer, and a lawyer of your caliber for that matter. Now, what about the misconduct of the military in crisis-stricken areas like the northwest, southwest, and far north regions of the country?
Well, you must know that during war times, the rules are not like where there's peace. And some of those things is very difficult to investigate. The allegations are there, but it's very difficult to investigate. And sometimes during war times, the state may not like to punish or derive a different formula of punishing, because when you also punish the military people, they may be discouraged to go. So the stories is very difficult to investigate during a wartime, unlike when it is a normal period of time. But I'm talking particularly in the case of Lahire in Douala, Yaoundé, all those other areas. When you take an action, certainly sanctions usually follow.
Now let's end with this perception that many have about lawyers with regards to the fact that they defend persons who alleged, accused, or suspected to have committed different types of crimes. And because of this, many people think that lawyers are people who defend even what is wrong, who defend even crimes, who defend even murder. And now, you are not just a Christian, but a Christian leader, chairman of the Bonamusa, the congregation of the Presbyterian Church in Cameroon. And that simply means that as a Christian leader, the exigencies of biblical principles of truth, moral rectitude, righteousness are heavier on you as a leader. So how do you reconcile these two positions that seem to be conflicting? The perception that the people have about lawyers because of what you're doing, that seems to be in contradiction of Christian values, norms, and biblical principles.
The church believes in forgiveness than even the law, or also one sanctions. But the church believes more in forgiving than even sanctioning. But let me equally surprise you. Do you know that Martin Luther, who had brought this radical change in the church, was a lawyer? If you see the attires of lawyers, it resembles that of the pastors. So there's a semblance between the law and the Bible. If you read Psalm 119, it tells you that all the Bible is the law. It's just because the other person has called it Bible, we in the legal field, we call it the law. The Bible is the law. It's the laws of God. And all great men in the Bible were lawyers. Do you know that Paul, who wrote nearly the New Testament, was a lawyer? Do you know that Martin Luther was a lawyer? Do you know that Moses was the founder of law? Those who have gone to law school, when they're teaching the history of law, you discover that it started from Moses. So why should lawyer be look in a different perspective? And whatever declaration that I made in court is not a lawyer who made those declarations. The lawyer merely says that as per the declaration of this person, law number this article, this says that this. The law will even sanction, but the Bible will tell you forgive 70 times 70. But you're only talking of a single incident. And that's why when the law fails, the lawyer revert back to the Bible. And lawyers are being shown on the Bible to tell that the Bible is superior even to the law. And that's why when the lawyer finds himself in a situation that he cannot even declare his claim, assuming that you are defending a murderer, that murderer is convicted guilty, they sentence that person, or they ask mitigating circumstances to a lawyer, they will plead by the Bible. You tell that forgive 70 times 70. And most often, the lawyer is not there in the position of the judge. And those laws are not made by lawyers. Mr. Babila, how many lawyers in the Cameroon Parliament? How many? Not even 1/10. Those laws are made by Parliament. Lawyers are merely saying that Parliament sat on this day, say that for this offense, this should be the sanction. It's a way of guarding that person so that the magistrate should not act out of emotions and sentence the person.
All right, Barrister, let's round up with this. Want to know your vision as a Christian leader, chairperson of the PC congregation in Bonamusadi. All right, we're sorry, we're not going to have that. Barrister is gone on that. Now, that's it for today's edition of the 6 p.m. News on Equinoxe Television. Thank you so much for your kind attention, and do have a really pleasant weekend in the company of our programs. Says hello to one of his guests will be here with Equinoxe in a moment. Stay with us if you can. Bye.